Alright, so as we are getting close to getting ready to do our assignments, let's just take a quick little review of the Unit 12 information. Drawing organization is the name of the game. We did it primarily with layers, and we're talking about the alphabet of lines this week. Okay, we explained what layers were. Here is a printout of the Layer Property Manager and its full extended dialog box. Here is the layer panel up at the top on the ribbon when it's closed. And when you click on the little black arrow, well then whatever layers are in the drawing are visible along with their colors, their on-off status, their freeze-thaw status, and their lock status. Now, we didn't really talk about lock, but that's okay. You know, there are bunches of things we haven't talked about. I mean, look at this panel. It's huge, right? There's a lot of stuff on here. And we're not going to talk about all of it, just the basics. So, what is the lock? What's up with the lock? Well, the lock is to protect things. Here's what I mean. I'm going to lock the dimensions. Now, do you see how they got kind of dim when I did that? I'll unlock them so you can see them at full brightness. When they are locked, they're a little bit dimmer. When you put your cursor over them, you'll also see a little lock appear next to the head of the cursor. What does a lock do? Well, it does this. I can select all that stuff and hit delete. And look what happened. The only thing that didn't delete were the things that were locked. So locking elements of your drawing through locking the layer protect those elements. Sometimes when I work with people and I am afraid that they're going to mess up my drawing big time, what I do is I will lock all the layers because I don't want them going in there and monkeying up stuff, okay? So lock is a protection technique so that dangerous people that get a hold of your drawing won't be able to mess it up, because chances are if they're that bad at AutoCAD, they're not going to know how to unlock a layer. Now, one of the other things that we didn't mention is this panel over here. See, when we make layers, we assign color, a line type, and line weight. But then over here, I see color, line weight, and line type. And you know, you might be tempted to say, well, I'm going to select some stuff, and all my stuff is on, let's say, layer 0, and I want it to be red. See, if you want it to be red, picking it over here and putting it on red is a really bad idea. Really bad idea. If you want things to be heavy, selecting them and then changing the weight over here is a really bad idea. Super bad idea. Okay, and the reason is that these are overrides. You're basically telling AutoCAD when you use these to forget what the layer says, follow the override, follow this. I might even go in here and say, hey, I'm going to change the line type to, I don't know, something bigger. Hidden. And because this is so big, those dashes are hard to see when we're zoomed out. Okay, so what's the problem? You're probably saying, Willis, you're nuts. Why is there a problem? Well, imagine me. I'm going to work with you. We're working in an office together, and I open your drawing and I see this layer, and it's red and hidden. And I say, okay, I'm going to go turn off the red hidden layer. And I'm looking down the list, and I see a red layer, so I turn it off. But you know what? When I do, this is still on. That's weird. And then I look and I find the hidden layer. And I think, well, maybe it's that one. So now I'll turn the hidden layer off. But this is still on, right? Because this is not on. This is not on the correct color or the correct line weight or the correct line type. This has been overridden. So if I work with you and you do this, I'm I'm going to meet you out in the parking lot. I'm going to take a sock and fill it with quarters, and I'm going to bash you in the head with it. Seriously. This drives people nuts that work with CAD all the time, changing colors all willy-nilly because it seems like it's an easy way to change color, line weight, or line type. Over here, if I turn off the green layer, I turn off the green stuff. Why are the dimensions still there? Right, so generally here's the rule. Never use the properties panel to change any of these things. Color, line weight, or line type. Unless the person who signs your paycheck, or in our case, the person that's going to give you a grade, says they want you to do that, okay? So, what should things look like over in that properties panel? Things should say color by layer, line weight by layer, and line type by layer. See, we want the layer to control color, line weight, line type. Okay, when you start overriding stuff, I'm telling you, it's not good. All right, it is very poor practice. So please make believe the properties panel is not even there, so you're not tempted to go in there and do something wild like I just did there. All right, now let's talk about our assignments. First, we have to finish talking about layers, I guess. So, some information on layers, layer names, the different kinds of colors you have to choose from, the different line weights that AutoCAD comes with, line type manager, the different AutoCAD line types, and these are just the ones that come with the program. You can make custom line types that have whatever symbol or pattern you want. How to use object snap tracking. We just looked at that a little while ago. Show or hide line weight using the line weight button. Okay, and then here we are at the assignment. So, you remember that CAD file we started a little bit earlier, you and me? We made some layers in it. Yeah, well, I wanted to get you started. I wanted to help you out on your first official organized drawing. So, the instructions over in the course pack tell you to start a new drawing file from scratch. Save the drawing with the name it's given. It's either B12 4A or B12 4B or B12 4C. There's 3 drawings you're doing. And then make these layers, right? And that's where we're at. So the next several steps you can follow, and if you have already taken the hand drawing part of the class, you'll be working on the drawings in the course pack. Okay, so I give you a little 3D picture, I give you a top view, a front view, you have to create the missing side view. Okay, the measurements are on there, the start point is on there. For drawing 1211, same idea. I give you a little 3D picture of what we're making engineering graphics for. We're drawing the front of the object, here's the top of the object. You're adding the drawing to make the side of the object. And again, all your sizes are there along with your start point. This is definitely the hardest object. There's a lot of stuff going on here. If you have already taken the hand drawing course, you are doing the front view and the top view. And we'll talk about a strategy for drawing this because I know it looks very complicated. But I think you'll be alright. Now, what are you going to do if you haven't taken the hand drawing part of the course yet? Well, if you're taking my class or Mr. Rigby's class, we don't do the hand drawing first, we do the CAD first, right? So for you, I have drawing 4A, 4B, and 4C. And these are single view drawings. Uses the same exact setup. Okay, same layers. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this sketch and you're going to to turn this sketch into a CAD drawing. Okay, so all of the elements that you need are here. If I were you, I've got a couple of strategies that I would use to do this. You can do it however you want, but we'll talk about my strategies. When it's all done, the drawing looks like this. And you can think of this as a simple piece of like plate steel that has been cut and stamped into a required shape. Okay, so how are you going to go from this to this in AutoCAD? All right, honestly, it's all about just thinking about how you would draw this thing with a pencil, because AutoCAD's just a fancy pencil. It's a $4,000 pencil, really, right? So people have different strategies for drawing. I'll show you my strategy. I think whenever you see a drawing with center lines, the center lines are like the skeleton of the drawing. And just like your body needs a skeleton in order to stand up, the drawing needs a skeleton to get started. Okay, so what I would do if I were you is I would draw this center line and this center line as my very first actions. Okay, and once you have the two center lines on the paper, well, you know, the rest of it's going to be pretty simple, I think. Basically, what we have here is we've got a box, right? You got a rectangle. Think about if you're over at the metal shop and you're going to make this out of plate steel. Wouldn't you go find a rectangular piece of plate to do that? And then wouldn't you knock the corners off on a little bit of an angle? Right? And then we can cut out the square in the middle and the rectangles on the sides. Right? So those would be the steps that I would take to make this. Well, drawing, it's not that much different, right? So let's take a look. How can we draw it after we get the center lines on the drawing canvas? From the left side to the right, the dimension is 8.5. So that means from the center to the edge, it's 4.25. And from the center to the other edge, it's also 4.25. So if I were you, I would offset the center line. Offset it 4.25 to make a line here, and offset it 4.25 this way to make a line here. And then look at the height of this object. The height of this object is 5. So from the center line that's horizontal, why don't you offset that center line 2.5 inches up and 2.5 inches down. See, what we're going to get is we're going to get a rectangle, right? We'll get a rectangle with center lines crossing through it. What's next? Well, how about the square? There's a square cut out in the middle. It's 3 inches square. So how about we offset 1.5 to the left, 1.5 to the right, 1.5 up, 1.5 down. That'll give you the lines for knocking out the square in the center. There's a 1-inch space from the square to the rectangle, so offset that line 1.5. Bam. And then offset it 3/4 to make the other side of the slot. The slot is 1 inch tall, so offset down 1 inch, and then offset up 1 inch, and that'll give us the 2 inches that we need. Okay, and then if you want to make the right side, you can do the same thing on the left, or you can mirror it. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to draw this angle, right? So how do you make this angle? Well, you might be thinking, well, probably need to use a chamfer, and you can use the chamfer. You can set it for distance and angle, and the distance is 2.25, and the angle is 30 degrees. But it'd be just easier to go in and set your polar to 30 degrees. And then go from the corner, go in 2.25, and draw a line straight up and out. And do the same thing here. Go from the corner, 2.25 over, and then 30 degrees straight out. And of course you could do the same thing here, or you could just mirror what you have on the left over to the right. Alright, and when we're done, we've got the figure, we do a little bit of trimming, we make sure that things are on the right layers. The center line goes up and down through the center and left and right through the center. The rest of these lines should be heavy and dark. They are the edges of the object. They are visible object lines. So just like our sketch here, we see some lines are darker than others. And then here's our finished CAD drawing with the border, the object lines, the center lines, and your name. Drawing 4B, same exact setup. So start a brand new CAD file. Brand new CAD file. Make the layers one more time. There's nothing wrong with making the layers a few times. We're trying to learn how to make them. This will be good. It'll drill it into your brain. Some information on how to make your border. Some instructions on how and where to place things and what you need to add. Now, this one here is a little bit trickier. No doubt, this is a little bit trickier. Okay, so again, though, I think the best thing you could possibly do is I see center lines. And when I see center lines, here's what I think. I think that's my skeleton. So if I were you, I would make a horizontal center line and then make a vertical center line on the right side toward the right end of the center line. Okay, and then here's another one, right? And that's 2 inches away. So offset that 2 inches. That's the center of this arc. And then it's 2.5 inches to the next arc. So offset that center line, 2.5. That's the center of this arc. And not just the center of this arc, it's also the linear location of that arc and this arc. The whole object from here to here is 7. So take this line here that you already drew and offset it 7. That gives you the front edge, doesn't it? 4.5 is the height from the top to the bottom. And since this center line is here, we know it's symmetrical, which means it's 2.25 up and 2.25 down. Okay, and when you got that set up, really the only thing left is a few circles. There's a 1.25 radius circle out here. There's a 1.5 inch diameter circle in here. There's a 1 inch diameter circle here and here. And you'll just connect them at the quadrant points. There's a 1 inch radius here. Of course, you're going to draw the whole circle and then trim off the parts you don't need. Same thing here. This will be a full circle, and you'll trim off the 3/4 of the circle you don't need. And then here we have a 1.25 inch radius circle for that half circle on here. Alright, so this would be the methodology I would do. Last step is set your chamfer. 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch will give you a 45-degree angle. Chamfer top, chamfer bottom, and we're good to go. Okay, here's what it looks like when it's all finished. 4C. 4C is the hardest of the drawings to do because it involves a little bit of thinking, a little bit of brain power, okay? But I'm sure you'll be fine. So, if you're in the going first with CAD class, this is the figure. Okay, and when it's all drawn out, it's going to look like this. I know this looks very complicated, but you want to be honest, it's really not. It's really not that complicated. Okay, so let's mark this up. How would I draw this? How would I get this thing started? Well, again, are there center lines? Yes, there are. So make this center line here. And then make this center line here. Okay, and then we have to know how far away is this center line, how far away is this center line, and how far down is this horizontal center line. And all that stuff is right here. Right? The distance the distance between this center line and this center line is 3 inches. The distance between this center line on the outside and this one is 5.625. And then this center line here is 1.75 below that center line there. So again, set up your center lines before you do anything else. Okay, and then really the rest of this drawing is a bunch of circles. It's a bunch of circles. And if you're saying, what? Let me show you how this is going to work. Once you get the center marks and center lines in, you are going to make a big circle. You see where it says radius 1.75? There's a big circle. Now we only see a little bit of it. We see a little bit at the arc at the top and a little bit at the arc at the bottom. Okay, but that's the radius 1.75 circle. Next we have a 3-inch diameter circle. That's this one here. 2 circles. Diameter 0.625, there's one here. And there's one here. That's 4 circles. Radius 0.75. So you'll have circle number 5, and you'll trim part of it. Circle number 6. And you'll be trimming part of that one. All right. Do you see any more circles? Well, how about this one here? Radius 1.5. You see, you're going to make a circle that is tangent here, with a radius of 1.5. So you'll actually have a big circle here that touches this circle, and then you're going to trim off the part you don't need. Okay, that's circle number 6. Do you see circle number 7? It's here, radius 5. So this circle is going to actually go way big. This is going to be a huge circle. Okay, and it connects the 3/4 inch circle here to the 1 3/4 inch circle up there, tangent here, with a radius of 5. All right, I see 6, 8 circles. There's one more circle, and maybe it's not as obvious, but you'll need a circle here to draw this hexagon. Okay, so draw a circle with a diameter of 1.75. And then draw a hexagon that circumscribes around the circle. So it's bigger than the circle. And that means the flat to flat measurement on the hexagon will be the same as the diameter on the circle. And when you're all done, trim things up, make them look pretty, and then you're going to submit them the way that the instructions call out for. Alright, so these are our technical drawings that we're working on this week. In a day or so, what I'll do is I'll put a little walkthrough video on how to accomplish these in case you're getting stuck. Okay, so I'll open up AutoCAD and I'll run through how I would do it. And if you want to use that as a guide or to help you as you're learning, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so that concludes our discussion here on technical drawing conventions and standards, along with working with layers.